Thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm Barbara Zia, League of Women Voters of the District of Columbia co-president. We're sorry that we can't meet in person this evening, but didn't want to risk anyone's safety in the frigid temperatures and ice. This meeting is being recorded and it can be found later on our website. Tonight's presentation focuses on ranked choice voting and how it's going to work for DC voters and candidates in 2026 election. With us are organizers at Grow Democracy DC Education Fund. Grow Democracy is working to help make sure every DC voter in all 8 wards is informed and ready to vote using our new ranked choice voting system. We're pleased to also have representatives from the DC Board of Elections in our audience. BOE is fully engaged in outreach and education on RCV. To get DC ready to rank the vote truly will take a village, and we need everyone's help. Our program this evening includes information about a follow-up Train the Trainer for leaguers and friends interested in presenting to community groups. And I'm going to turn it over to our presenters and Lisa Rice. Lisa is Grow Democracy DC CEO. And I just add, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. Thanks. Lisa.
Hi, thank you, Barbara. I'm so glad to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry we couldn't be in person, but I agree with Barbara 100%. Safety first, and we'll just send vibes over the interwebs and pretend we're together. I have a few minutes, and thank you, Kenyatta, for giving me so much time. And first things first, I'd like to introduce the Grow Democracy DC Civic Education Fund team. And this team is working on our project, which we call Rank the District, which is all about educating people, educating voters about how to rank their vote come June 16th. We have Brandon Bush Thompson. Leaguers know Brandon because Brandon has been working with the league for quite a while, and we're lucky enough to have Brandon working with us part-time. Ashley Chapin. Ashley is a veteran of the campaign, the Initiative 83 campaign, where Ashley did almost everything, including manage our social media. And for those of you who play Trivial Pursuit, Ashley and I have something in common. We went to the same school undergrad. She went undergrad, I went grad. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but go on LinkedIn and you can figure it out. And then when there's like a really deep trivia question about what do Ashley and Lisa have in common besides Initiative 83, you can be the winner. Brian Strage is our implementation director for Rank the District project. He is also with me part of the management of Grow Democracy DC. And Brian has been known as the tech guy. This is what Brian calls himself. But so lucky and grateful to have Brian by my side. Brian and I work together on quite a number of things, and we balance each other out. And I will say that I refer to us as teeter and totter. So if I'm like this, Brian brings me back down. So I love working with all of these people. And of course, Kenyatta Smith, who is our education director. So we're really happy to be here tonight and really excited to go through some things about ranked choice voting. And there'll be a formal presentation, some Q&A, and we'll have some breakout rooms. I want to tell you just a little bit about how we got to having ranked choice voting here in DC. And that starts, as always, with a good story. And the story is back in 2015-16, I became a little disenchanted with the political party that I belonged to, and finally decided in 2017 that I would become independent.
Yeah.
And what I did not realize at that time when I became unaffiliated with the party is that I had disenfranchised myself. And so I was at a decision point back in 2017 in 2018 when I was looking for my ballot to come for the primary and it did not come. And I called the Board of Elections and I was told, sorry, you don't get a ballot. You're an independent. And I said, but wait a minute, I should be able to vote. So many of you know me as someone who is very steadfast, strong, and true. And some people would even call me a little bit, I don't know, persistent. But I decided instead of trying to accommodate myself to a system that would not let independents vote in taxpayer funded elections, that I was going to change it. At the same time, the folks who were working on a grassroots effort to bring ranked choice voting to the district with the Voice Act back in 2021, which never got out of committee on the council, thought that they would want to take that to the people as a ballot initiative. So, we had these two groups of people, or I was a group of one with a couple of other people that were like-minded, and the folks who wanted ranked choice voting, and and we thought this would be a great opportunity to further democratize the district, small d, work on our democracy, open up voting for the 1 in 6 of us who are not affiliated with a political party, and then also introduce a way to bring people into office with a majority of the votes. And that's what ranked choice voting does. So I became the proposer of Initiative 83. It was an amazing year and a half. It was hard work. We had a great team. Uh, as you know, 73% of district voters approved it, which is in the biz called a landslide. Yay. And so we're really excited. The council chose to fund only ranked choice voting. And so that's where we are. We are going toward implementation in June 16th. And it's going to be exciting. And this is all I talk about. And people call me and I get calls from people that I don't even know and they want to set up presentations and they want us to come out. People are very excited. And a lot of people who were not happy with the change are now embracing the opportunity for education. And so that's why I'm so excited about tonight. I am a member of the League of Women Voters, and I want our membership to be able to be knowledgeable. And I do not expect our members to be expert, but you know where to come when you have questions. The whole group that I introduced, Brandon, Ashley, Brian, Kenyatta, and me, and we'll have other folks. And we're gonna do this together. We are DC. We do hard things all the time. This is not hard. And I will say, as I close out, I had 7 minutes, so I'm closing this part out. I will say I have worked with groups all over the country that are making these kinds of changes, including folks in Alaska who I say are very similar to us in DC. The population is about the same, 700,000. There is a plurality of minoritized voters. So in DC, there's a plurality of Black voters. In Alaska, the Native Alaskan population, and what the elders of the Native Alaskan population say when people try to say that they're too old or they're confused. One lady, and I try to get the recording, she says, look, I can count to 5. What do you mean? Of course I can count to 5. So we're going to do this and we're going to buoy those who have been told that it's confusing. It is not confusing. The people who are confused are the people who haven't done it. And so after June 16th, we will all be together and having gotten through it together. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to turn it over to Kenyatta.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Barbara. And thank you for everyone who is on this call joining. Today is going to be fun. It's going to be pretty much like a preview of our train to trainer sessions and presentations. Today, we are going to walk through our simple RCV educational presentation that we share at ANC meetings, community events, and other one-on-one educational trainings. Once we go through that, we're going to have a Q&A. And then after we have our Q&A, we're going to go into breakout groups, and we're going to role play on different scenarios on how you will educate voters on ranked choice voting. So I want everyone to get ready to use their voices and participate. This should be some fun because I get bored just talking at people, guys. So please ask me all the questions. When you go into these breakout rooms, get ready to use your acting chops. I don't know anyone who's been in improv, but you know, it's going to be kind of like that. So I hope we have a little bit of fun this evening. Jess, I want us to start sharing the screen. And I'm going to skip through. We are Rank the District, a project of Grow Democracy DC Civic Education Fund. Lisa pretty much explained our backstory. So we're going to skip a couple of slides. Just can we skip one at the next two slides? Lisa talked about this. We can stop right here at our goals. Rank the District. Everyone on this call, excluding Lisa, who's our project manager, we are organizers for Rank the District. Rank the District, again, is a project of Grow Democracy DC Civic Education Fund. And our goal, with you all's help, is to make sure that we engage a minimum of 5% of DC voters and make sure that they clearly understand how to use ranked choice voting during the primary elections. We plan on doing that by focusing on the senior citizens, hard to reach communities, young youth voters, and also disabled voters. We want to support candidates with candidate training, making sure they know how to run in a ranked choice voting race. And we extremely want to support the BOE. You know, they are the driving force of this, and however way we can support their needs, we will be there for them. And the biggest way to get this information out with ranked choice voting is collaborating with organizations like yourself. If we can't get your voice out there and make sure you're not educated, we're not going to make sure that the voters are educated. So it's really important for all of us to be here and make sure we thoroughly know how to explain RCV. Next slide, Jess. So I start off with ranked choice when I explain ranked choice voting, how it works. How do I rank my ballot? It's easy as 1, 2, 3. You rank your favorite candidate first. You rank your backup choices, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Only rank the candidates that you support. If your first choice loses in last place, your vote moves to your next choice. This repeats until candidates win with over 50%. If you look to the right, I have my example ballot. It has DC sports teams. When we educate, we tend to use pop culture, current events, relatable topics to introduce this new voting system because it's easier for voters to just understand. So that's why we use that. Next slide. There are 3 things that you should not do when it comes to ranked choice voting. What not to do, number 1, don't choose more than one candidate in the same column. This is an example, which is really important that we show our voters to make sure visually they won't make this mistake. Next slide. Do not rank the candidates more than once. You want to visually make sure that the voters are not ranking candidates multiple times, pretty much coloring in the rows multiple times. Next slide, Jess. This is an interesting one. I can't wait for Brian to talk about this more later. Skipping is allowed, but it's best to rank in order. If you notice, when you skip, I'm gonna let you know what? I'm gonna let Brian go into detail about that and more in detail later. Can I get to the next slide? This is what your ballot should look like. Each choice is in a different column and in a different row. You only rank a candidate that you support, and you only rank a candidate once. Next slide, Jess. Now we're going to go through how the votes are tabulated. We just ranked our favorite DC sports teams. The Nationals are in last place. They have 5 votes out of 143. So if they were your first choice, your first choice is removed and your vote is going to go to your second choice. Next slide, Jess. Now, the second round shows you where those 5 votes were distributed to their second choices. So the Capitals was someone's second choice. There was 3 people who chose the Mystics as their second choice, and there was 1 person who chose the Commanders as their second choice. So this is how the votes are distributed once your first choice loses. Next slide, Jess. So we go on to the third round, and it shows you that the Capitals were eliminated next and where their votes were distributed. So this is where it goes on and on until we get someone. Next slide, Jess, fourth round, where we get a winner who wins by over 50%, 75 of the votes. It continues until someone gets over 50%. Next slide, Jess. We're going to take a quick second. And before we go into our breakout groups, if we have any questions about the presentation, why the format is that way, or any questions about how ranked choice voting works and tabulations. And if you can raise your hand if you have any questions, or you can also put them in the chat.
All righty. Can y'all hear me? If anybody
Yes.
has or wants to participate in questions, please be sure to raise your hand or put your questions in the chat. I'll read them aloud. DS.
Brandon, I just wanted to flag Beth Cogswell also had a physical hand up. I don't know if she's able to do a virtual hand. So I just wanted to flag so you don't miss her in the mix.
If any of you are able to go down into your reactions, and raise your hand, please make sure you're able to do that so I can keep track. I can't see everyone all at once. So please utilize your reactions to raise your hands. Thank you, thank you, thank you. First, we are going to start off with DS. DS, please come off mute and we'll answer your question. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I'm confused on if I rank whatever commanders first, it it only goes away if the commanders is at the bottom. Like if they get less than 50%. I'm confused about what happens with when my votes go to the second candidate. It's only in the case that my first candidate is like the last, right? So if my first candidate is number 2, they're still in the running.
Jess,
I'm not sure if my question is making sense.
right here to number 2, no, to the second round. So the Nationals were eliminated. Hi, first, thank you for the question. So I want to make sure you want to understand how your vote moves and when it moves. Dia?
Looks like she might be frozen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think she froze.
Oh, no. DS, can you hear us?
Probably will come back online in a minute. Maybe we take the next question and come back to her when she unfreezes.
Yeah. So we're going to continue on. DS, when you reconnect, please let us know and we'll continue with the explanation. Um, Rosemary Berman, you can come
Hi.
on.
Okay, so I've got maybe one or two questions, depending upon how the first one is in. So if my first vote was the Commanders and my second vote was the Mystics, so then my vote then goes to the Mystics, but yet other people who may have voted as the Commanders for the second, that goes up. So it looks as if I have, I guess the first half of the question is that what happens?
You want me to take
Does
that?
Yeah, go, Brian. Go for it.
Yeah, so if your second ranking is the Mystics, if you rank the Commanders first, your vote is going to stay with the Commanders unless the Commanders are eliminated, and they only get eliminated if they come in last in a given round. So I think that's a similar question to what DS was asking. But yes, your vote essentially stays with your first choice unless and until that choice gets eliminated.
so you then don't really count my Mystics vote.
Not unless the Commanders are eliminated, correct?
Okay, so my vote always stays with the Commanders until the Commanders is eliminated.
Right. Or they win.
Yeah, okay, either win or eliminated.
Yeah.
So then it looks like I really have, so in ranked choice voting, it seems like there's lots of votes, not just one, but it's
So, yeah, so another term for ranked choice voting, which when we're talking about tabulation, I actually like a little better, is instant runoff voting. So your rankings, you're only ever using one of them at a time. And in your scenario, your vote would stick with the Commanders until and if they are eliminated, and then it would go to the Mystics. You can kind of think of that as you're now casting a new vote in this runoff for the Mystics. But your votes are not, or your rankings are not kind of used at the same time. It only gets to the Mystics if the Commanders are eliminated.
okay. So my vote then, I'm just repeating to make sure I understand it. So my vote will stick with the Commanders until the Commanders are eliminated totally.
Hmm.
So when the Commanders are eliminated totally, then my vote then belongs to the Mystics.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So for
Yeah.
now, I think that,
If your first choice wins or makes it to the final round, all of your backup choices are never going to come into play. Your
okay.
first choice is gonna. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, my backup choices don't count until my first choice is eliminated.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Until they're needed, so to speak.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Alrighty, we have a quick question in the chat. Can you explain the issue with skipping? Thank you. Thank you, L. Lynch. Can we
Yeah, so skipping is when you basically rank somewhere, then skip over one or more rankings and then rank again. It's not the same thing as just leaving some columns at the end blank. And the skipping rule is a little interesting. You are allowed to skip once, and your ballot will continue on reading to the next few rankings. But if you skip twice in a row or more, so three times in a row, anything after those skips are not counted. Um, so while technically, yes, you are allowed to skip once, there's really no reason to ever do it. You're wasting space on your ballot. You won't have five ranks, you'll have four because you're skipping one. But people do ask about it just to know how it is tabulated, and one skip is ignored, two or more thrown away after the multiple skips.
Period. Alrighty. Let's move on to the next question. Miss Beth Cogswell. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, are the ballots electronically tallied?
They
are.
will be, yeah.
Yes. And so those who choose a straight across a column or straight across a row or straight down a column, are they discarded from the count?
So there's a lot of different ways to make that mistake. I'll take one at a time. So if you do straight down a column, that is considered an overvote,
Yes.
and the overvote obviously cannot be counted because we wouldn't know which one you really picked. And
Okay.
also anything after the overvote is also not counted. So if you ranked properly in ranking one, overvoted in ranking two, that means a bunch in the same column, and then ranked properly three, four, and five, those are all not going to count because you overvoted in ranking two.
Mhm.
So overvoting is basically the worst thing you can do because it removes everything after the overvote, including the overvote. Ranking in the same row is still something you shouldn't do, but it's not as bad essentially. You're basically just giving the same candidate multiple rankings, which doesn't help them. You're essentially just ranking them once. We definitely want to get across. You're not giving them 5 votes if there's a candidate you really love. You're giving them one. Um, but it's not like tossed out in the way that the
Okay.
overvote could cause.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much, Miss Beth Cogswell. Um, Linda Fennell, please come up and
Yes, thank you, Linda Fennell. Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. This is about like the third presentation I've seen this, and I really appreciate it because every time I see it, I see something differently. And so I appreciate it. Appreciate you all hosting this one. One of the things that I thought about as I every time I see it is that I think that the language on how we or how it is being explained to the public is a little bit wonky, right? And so I'm thinking that basically, and I'd like to get a clarification from me, isn't this basically like a runoff system? And I think that the populate that the district residents, if we use that term, it is a runoff system. And that way, because when we start talking about ranking choice and this, that, and third, I've heard a lot of people get hung up on those terms because we've never had a runoff system in DC. It's like if you got 38%, 27%, whatever that larger number is, that person's declared a winner. This time, are we not bringing us into parity with most states because most states have a runoff system? If the top two or whatever, whoever doesn't get the 51%, it becomes a runoff. It's just that the ranked choice voting is more, you have more choices. So instead of the two, you get to vote for your top five. Have you all considered like simplifying the language so that folks know that this is a runoff? This is a runoff process that we
Lynn,
never had.
I love your
I,
question and your
I,
statement.
oh, go ahead, Kenyatta, and then I wanted to address the wonkiness.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to have. I hope you're in my breakout group because depending on the audience, that's the way I explain it. It does simplify it, and because we have the power to explain things in a way to make sure who our audience understands it. So in the scenario, hoping that you're in my group, I do use that as an explanation. You literally say an instant runoff explaining to certain people. So I think that's the very first statement.
Okay. Then the second part of it is that I thought when I see it, the gentleman just said that, hey, if you do something with the ballot, if you put them all in wrong, it throws the ballot out. Um, I didn't hear it this time, and maybe I missed it, but the ranked choice only kicks in if there's more than three. There have to be at least three candidates, right? At a minimum for it to work, right?
Yeah, there's a 3 candidate requirement. It's a little more complicated than it sounds because it is my understanding, I don't know if this is official yet, but it's my understanding that if there are 2 named candidates on the ballot, but one qualified write-in, like someone that actually submitted the paperwork to be a write-in, that would also count as a 3 candidate race.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, what do you do with the write-ins? And then I was thinking about, and I'm trying to keep it going. When we go to break in, I'll probably have some more questions that I thought programmatically is that these votes are not final until all the mail-in ballots come in. So the mail-in folks or the overseas ballots, right? They'll come in and then they have to be tabulated as well. Is that correct?
I mean, the final certified results, yeah, they're going to need all of the mail-in ballots to be in, all the overseas ballots, things like that. That doesn't preclude the board from releasing interim tabulations. They may make a decision to do that. But yeah, as the current system is right now, that their final certified isn't going to be for 10 days or more after the election.
10 days. So now when you said toss out, you said something about tossing out ballots. If you toss out a person's ballot, if they did it wrong on the runoff format, does that disqualify that whole ballot?
So I was talking about tossing out rankings,
Okay.
and this is on a per race basis. So if you did something in the mayor's race, it's not going to impact your vote for delegate, for example.
Okay.
But what I was saying is not even the whole race. It's just what happens after a certain mistake called an overvote. Let's say you did it at ranking 3, you filled in a bunch in the same column. That's not going to affect the first two. So your first rank and your second rank are going to be just fine. Um,
But I mean like the entire ballot, like the entire, because our ballots have several races.
yeah, no, absolutely not. It doesn't toss out your entire ballot. No.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll save the rest for the breakout then. Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to hop in and thank you for that question about wonkiness. We talk about addressing and talking about ranking from the perspective of the voter. And so the conversations that I often have with people start with this. As adults, we rank every day. When we decide what we're going to wear, we look in the closet and I'm a good example. Right now, I have on this black and blue turtleneck. When I went into the drawer to find what I wanted to wear, I couldn't find it. So in my mind, I automatically knew what my second choice was. And so I talk to people about how natural it is that we as adults rank, and we rank every day. We rank what we wear, and we rank, if we're at a restaurant, we rank without even thinking about it, what we want to eat. And I'll have that hamburger. Oh my gosh, if they say they don't have burger meat, which is weird, but whatever, then I'll have a chicken sandwich or I'll have a chicken salad or whatever. And so that's what I want to get back to when we talk about ranking. We do it every day as adults. It is natural and it is part of how we live our lives. And so in terms of thinking about ranking, that's a way that I speak about it. On Friday, Brian and I were outside at the Board of Elections all day long, met almost every candidate for every office in DC. And one of them, and we had, I don't know how many conversations, probably about 60. And one of the candidates said to me, "You're making it even too, Lisa, that is way too complicated. Just tell people to think of their top 5." So everyone gets to this in a way that is intuitive for them. And I want to remind you that we rank every day, all of us as adults, every day. And so I wanted to add that because it is not as wonky as a lot of people want to make it seem. But there are wonks who will make it confusing. And now I'm going to mute myself and let Brandon continue to facilitate the Q&A.
All righty, we're gonna wrap this up. Please, please, please keep your questions if you can. We're gonna have a second Q&A towards the end, but we want to make sure that we move this along so that we can do our small groups and do a little bit of role play. Again, like Kenyatta said, I hope that y'all are ready to do some acting and some improv because we're gonna get into this. So yeah, without further ado, I'll allow that process to start and begin.
Thank you, Brandon.
We were
Jasper,
just making sure everyone was in a room before I hit open all rooms. So I'm going to hit open all rooms. You should magically get whisked away into a room with one of our facilitation teams. If you don't, I will be here to help get you where you need to go. So I've opened the rooms. I'm not seeing many of you moving. There we go. You're starting to go. Barbara, I clicked the button that said we weren't in the sort, and so now I don't know how to get you into a room. If you're on the line and want to be moved into a room, please let me know that you may need to push a button on something to get yourself there.
Back. We had a great time.
Yes, yes, we did. Thank you so much.
Hey, Miss Georgia.
Hi, how are you, Brandon?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Group 1 is back. We had fun too.
Oh my gosh, great.
We still missing a group?
I think so.
I can't
Everyone
tell.
should be back.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like all the numbers went down. Okay, great. That was awesome. We were in the middle of acting when we got out, but I love it. I hope everyone had a great time. I know our group took some time to reflect on a lot of things. We took the time to do the farmers market scenario and the one-on-one scenario, and there were a lot of questions. I want us to come back for a group right now and just recap on the experience. If there were any questions that we're not able to answer due to time, we want to take about 5 to 10 minutes to get some clarifying questions. Again, open up for Q&A and debrief, and then we're going to hop into a little presentation from Brian. So, experience with the breakout rooms. Any questions you were not able to answer or ask while in the room? Rosemary, I see your hand is raised.
Yes. Okay, so a quick question is so that you will have the option of both the hard ballot as well as the electronic ballot. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. The rest that was just a comment I'll save for later. Thank you.
Okay, Rosemary. Marjorie?
Thank you. My question is whether or not the voters are going to receive something in the mail ahead of time, just getting people used to the idea and maybe explaining ranked choice voting at all?
We talking about mailers. I think that I want to lean into Brian and Lisa on this. I think that we are sending out one mailer, and oh my God, yes. Hey, Miss Monica. I would like if Monica would you like to jump in and answer that question? Monica, director of the DC Board of Elections, is here. I'm so happy to have her to answer any questions. Board of Election.
Yes. So about mailers, yes, we will send out multiple postcard mailers. We will also have information in our voter guide. Each registered voter will also be mailed a ballot. We'll have instructions and guidance within that mail ballot packet about ranked choice voting. We also have information that is posted on our website. So everything that is sent in the mail will also be available on our website. You can currently go to the website and get frequently asked questions. We have a palm card available, and we're making that palm card available in all of our informational materials to organizations and groups, because we really want to encourage people to share the information we have with friends, family, neighbors, because as mentioned earlier, the more we can come together to educate and get the word out, it benefits all of us. So yes, to your question, you will absolutely get something in the mail. As a matter of fact, I was reviewing the first postcard mailer just today.
Thank you so much, Monica.
I thought I saw one more hand.
Thought I did
I
too.
did
don't
see
know.
a hand and then it went down.
Oh,
Maybe we answered the question.
oh,
Mary
it's Mary.
Ellen.
Mary.
Yeah, I had asked this question in our breakout session. How are the results of the election going to be displayed? How will they be communicated?
I'm not from the BOE, but I assume it'll
So,
be just the same way they've done it before.
so this might be a good toss to Monica. I'm sure they're going to have to construct something showing the round by round, tabulations, but I don't know if they've chosen that method yet.
Yes. So thank you. So traditionally, you can go to the BOE website and get election results. Election results will continue to be posted on the website. We will have interim results posted. So on election night, as we always have, we will post the in-person election results. We'll have those tabulated that evening. We will also post any mail ballots that have been processed at that point. We know that we do get quite a few mail ballots on election night. So of course, we will not be able to process all of those and report the results on election night. We have been talking to a number of jurisdictions as far as the best way to display the information. And so we have not finalized what the display will look like, but we want to ensure that we have a display that one clearly says, and with some sort of disclaimer, that these are interim results until certified. But again, that's no different than the election results we posted in the past. Until we certify an election, the results are not final. So even though we're posting interim results, then we just need to make sure we're setting the expectation for what you can view on the website. But as far as showing the tabulation rounds and just clearly displaying how a candidate would come off and you move to the next round, we are working with the best way to display that so it is easily understandable and digestible to those who go to the site. So yes, you will be able to see it. The format has not been finalized yet, though.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
All right, thanks. So I have a question. It didn't come up in our group, but Brian kind of in the chat earlier referenced it. And since we are the League of Women Voters, the one thing that I are having a little challenge with is in the one time we can vote for two people at the at-large council vote. First of all, I think a lot of voters don't understand they can vote for two. And now I'm not sure how ranked choice voting would work with that. So I don't know if we want to talk about this later or something, but I do think it's an important question because that vote has already been confusing for people. And so
For
that'd be
sure.
helpful.
That's actually my very last set of
Okay.
slides is about the at-large and the top two. For right now, before we get to that, I'll just mention that only comes up in November. The structure of the primary is the same in that the Democratic primary will only be advancing one candidate to the at-large contest. So for June, not important yet exactly. But yeah, I will go through I'll show you how that works because there are different ways to do it with ranked choice voting. And I know we have a neighboring jurisdiction that does things a little differently that people thought we might be doing something similar to them. So that'll be the last thing we go through tonight.
Brian, the timing was amazing with that question, and because we're about to segue into that.
Oh, okay. Well,
But I was awesome. I'm like,
It's like it was a setup, except it wasn't.
Yes, because you have your 15 minutes to break that down. Jess, we're gonna go into the 201. Do you want to show the slides or you want to just chat?
Yeah, let's do the slides. It starts at slide 18.
Thank you, Jess.
I can't see the numbers, so if you can tell me.
Oh,
when
I
to
think it's one or
stop.
two more.
Okay.
One
Oh,
more.
here we go. 201. There we go.
Yeah. So this is a slide deck that we originally put together for, I think it was DC for Democracy, some groups that wanted to get a little deeper into some complicated questions, more complicated questions about ranked choice voting. And I'm glad that we had this pretty lengthy meeting tonight because Kenyatta and I were on another call where we plunged into this type of material immediately. And some people were like, well, wait, this feels like you're jumping in the deep end. So this is the deep end, I guess, or at least the top two, which is the last thing I'll talk about, is probably the most complicated thing that you might want to understand. But I've just got 3 slides here and then a little quasi tabulation example for the top 2 race. But I'll just go with what our slides say. So first, a lot of people have asked which offices does ranked choice voting apply to? I'm not entirely sure how this happened, but there was a rumor that was out there at some point that this would not be applying to the delegate race because that's a federal race. I don't know where that came from, but that's not true. It will apply to the delegate race, even though it's a federal race. So it's going to be used for all public offices in DC, both federal and our DC offices. And this is a question that also comes up sometimes. Yes, it does include the presidential elections, but don't overthink that. This is just us choosing how to allocate our 3 electoral votes. It isn't somehow RCV up in the Electoral College. So spoiler alert, it's the Democrat is going to continue to get our 3 electoral votes. You'll just be able to, rank the other parties if you so choose. Maybe 50 years from now, if there were another competitive party, this would come into play. But yes, technically it is used for the presidential elections. The offices where it's not used are party offices. So basically the state committee, DC Democratic State Committee, I think similar things for the Republicans and the statehood Greens. Those are excluded from ranked choice voting. Those tend to be large slates anyway, which would make for a very messy ballot. So those are the only things that are excluded from ranked choice voting. And the trigger, this was mentioned earlier, but the trigger for RCV to be used is that there have to be 3 or more candidates. Now that's possibly slightly more complicated than it sounds, since a write-in can technically submit the proper paperwork and become a qualified candidate. So I believe there may be some scenarios where 2 candidates on the ballot and one, the very enthusiastic write-in would also trigger it. But there have to be 3 qualified candidates for ranked choice voting to be used in any particular contest. Next slide. So that was which offices. So now which elections. So all of them. June 16th, we're having our primary. We're also having a concurrent special election, which will actually be the first time that independent voters will be able to cast a ranked choice voting ballot in DC. It happened to work out that way. So that's 2 of these, primaries and specials. And we also will be using ranked choice voting in our generals. So it's not like New York City where they only do it in the primary. So every election going forward will be using ranked choice voting. Having said that, nothing about the structure of our party nominating process is going to change. We're still going to have a separate Democratic primary, separate from the Republican primary, separate from the statehood Green, and each of those are going to advance a single candidate, a nominee, to the general election. Nonpartisan offices, such as State Board of Education and ANCs. I'm an ANC, Lisa Rice is a former ANC. Those will also be conducted via RCV in our general election in November. And now we'll get into the 2 simultaneously elected at-large council seats. We'll be using RCV in the general election. So if you go to the next slide. So this kind of explains how, in particular, ranked choice voting will be done for our at-large races. So again, this is the one in November. I hesitate a little bit to talk about this right now because I don't want to confuse people and make them think that this is what's happening in June, right? In June, primary election, 1 winner. But in November, It is a two-winner ranked choice voting election. And there are lots of different flavors of what's known as multi-winner ranked choice voting. This is two-winner, so it is multi-winner. But from the voter perspective, it's actually going to simplify things a little bit. There's not going to be a one strange race on the ballot that's choose two, where all the others are choose one. The at-large seats are actually going to look just like every other contest. It's going to be 5 columns, and you're going to rank 1 in each column, not 2 in each column or anything like that. So you're going to be, from the voter perspective, you're going to be doing the exact same thing for the at-large race as any other race. What's different is the tabulation. The only difference between the tabulation mechanism that's used from single winner races is that it just keeps going. So instead of stopping when one candidate has reached the 50% threshold and saying this is the winner, it just continues to do eliminations for the remaining candidates, and it stops when there are 2. So in that sense, it's also similar to the current system in that the winner obviously wins, and then the runner-up gets that second seat. So that's another name for that, which you may have heard of. I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't. It's called bottoms-up ranked choice voting. There are other forms of multi-winner ranked choice voting, some of which involve fractions, such as proportional ranked choice voting. Single transferable vote can also be called. That's what they use down in Arlington. That is not the system we're going to be using here. There are no surplus fractions. There are no transfers. It's also not a sequential system, which is where you run the ranked choice tabulation once, you get one winner, pull them out, and then rerun it. That's not what the system is. This is actually the easiest system to tabulate of all of the multi-winner. You do the exact same thing as in a single winner, you just keep going. So if you go to the next slide, this is kind of, I threw this together, an example of what your first round results might look like in a 2-winner ranked choice voting contest. This might be a little hard to coordinate with the next slide, but hopefully we can do an okay job. So let's say these were our first round results, right? Nobody has 50%, but in a 2-round race, that's not what we're looking for. But what we're looking for are 2 remaining candidates. Well, we've got 6. So just like in the other contests, we look at the loser, or the person who comes in last. Loser's too harsh. Foxtrot here. And next slide. With the red highlight, this is the loser. So Foxtrot's going to be eliminated, and everybody who voted for Foxtrot with their first ranking, their second ranking is going to come into play. So next slide. So as you can see, Foxtrot is now out of the system, and those second choice votes have been given to the other candidates. They've all increased a little bit, except Foxtrot, who's now out of the contest. This caused Echo to jump over Delta, which is good for Echo because now Delta's in last. So in this round, Delta is going to be eliminated. And now we have 4 candidates left. If this were a single winner race, if this were anything but our at-larges, so mayor, delegate, we would stop here. Click next. Because Alpha has over 50%, right? We would be done. But for the 2-winner race, we have to keep going because we need to get that second winner. So Echo is now in last. We eliminate Echo. This has caused Charlie to jump over Bravo. And now Bravo is in the unfortunate position of being last. One more slide. Eliminate Bravo. And this is what it might look like. So one thing you may have noticed is when Alpha crossed the 50% threshold, I think Alpha was at 50.7%. Even though Alpha has won, we'll be getting one of those 2 seats. They continue collecting second choice votes from the eliminated candidates. There's no kind of threshold where they're taken out of the system. This just runs once till you get 2 winners, and these are the winners. And mathematically, only one of them can get 50% unless there were a dead tie and they both had exactly 50%. So essentially, you're getting your one majority winner, and then your runner-up has the most support of the remaining candidates. I hope that was somewhat helpful for whoever had the 2-winner question. Might have been Anne. I think that's the last slide.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, I'm glad that was helpful, Anne.
Oh, you see it in the chat. Yeah.
So the last 10 minutes, oh my gosh, we're so on schedule. This was amazing. I really want to thank Monica for being here and supporting us with the DC Board of Election questions. I want to use this last 10 minutes again because I think questions and clarifying any uncertainties are important. I also want to let you all know that we are really big on engaging communities, different organizations, and collaborating. So we will be sending all of this information to the Board of Elections and not Board of Elections, excuse me, League of Women Voters. We can find all of this information on their website. Brandon, do you mind putting our website, Rank the District, in the chat? And also putting your email and my email. If you guys want to schedule any educational presentations, please reach out to Brandon and myself. So I'm just going to open up the floor for more questions and have my beautiful leader close out. So any more questions before we close out?
No questions? Are you kidding me?
One hand is up.
Oh, I
Two
can't see it.
hands.
All right.
Marjorie and then Catherine.
Just put my hand up late. This may be a stupid question, but is it possible in ranked choice voting that someone who got like no first votes but got a bunch of second like choices would end up being the winner?
If it's literally no, then no, because they would be last in the first round.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's not a right question. It feels like you should be able to somehow piece together a win with just second and third and fourth, but that first round matters a lot. That's what, gets you eliminated or not.
Thank you.
Catherine?
So if the league wants to have some educational sessions on ranked choice voting, do we, I don't mean to say, are we obliged to include? I mean, how can we do this on our own? What's the protocol here?
Lisa, you want to answer that question? I think
you can do it. That's why we're here to teach you
okay,
how to do it.
I was just wanted to clarify whether, because every session like this I've gone to, I've learned something I didn't know before. So I'm sure there's a lot out there that I don't know. So didn't want to, but I know better than to give out any bad information if I don't know the answer. I say
Well, you have all of this information. If you have an educational presentation that you're leading and you want one of our members to come and support, we can send a field educator to support you. But by all means, we want you to go out in the DC voter universe and educate on ranked choice voting.
And Catherine, I will say, it seems that everybody in this city has my phone number. So, if you are in a presentation and you didn't ask one of us to come along, you've got my phone number. Call me. I always answer when my phone rings. I do not always answer every text. I do not always answer every email. But when my phone rings, I answer it. So, I can be your invisible wing woman. But use me as a last resort.
I want to get Anne's question, and I want to close out Monica, and then I want Lisa to close out. Anne?
Yeah, mine is not a question, mine is a statement, because I sat there and watched, or stood there and watched Ashley and Kenyatta educating people during the MLK Day health and wellness tent. And I am telling you, there were so many people who made mistakes. And then we were able, I came away feeling like we just saved 200 people's votes because we were able to educate. So it just feels critical to be able to do this. And so I thank you very much, because that was really, for me, I was like, oh, I know how to do this. but watching people really struggle, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, we got to do this. So that's my statement.
If I could pop in there, and it was so nice to be at the table with you guys. And I really just want to emphasize every single person on this call. We need your energy out there because we need to touch as many people in DC as possible. And not all of them know that their first choice goes on one. There were a lot of people who thought their first choice goes on five. And we just want people to, at the very, very basic level, know what to do with their ballot. It's great if they want to ask more questions, but really all you need to know is how to help someone understand what their ballot design looks like. So if you could just help us out with that message, that is really the most key thing.
I want to do Monica and then close out with Lisa. I want to thank everyone.
Yes,
Monica.
thank you. And thank you for inviting us to tonight's event. It's really important that we get out and spread the word. The one thing I will say, it's always possible you'll be asked a question you have not heard before. And the advice that we give to our staff, if you don't know, I don't know, is a perfectly acceptable answer. I'd rather you say don't know than make it up or think you have the right answer and then misinformation gets out there. I am always similar to Lisa. I have my phone with me. I tell staff members, text me, call me if you're out, if you have a question. But it's just really important to ensure that we are consistent with the message and that we're consistent with the right message. The other thing, we are also in the process of developing a video that explains ranked choice voting, and then it will have a Q&A component as well. That video will live on our website, and our voter education and outreach team will use it as they go out in the community, and anybody will be able to pick that up. We also are working with Councilmember Bonds for a town hall. It was originally going to be this coming Saturday, but I believe she's going to push it due to inclement weather. And that will be on TV 13, the district TV channel. And so that presentation will run in a loop as well. So again, it will also give opportunities for people to become educated, and it will be another tool that's out there. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, everyone, for participating tonight. It's been a long road to get here, and I'm very excited and try not to geek out about this stuff, but I will geek out every once in a while. I want to reemphasize something that Monica just said. If you have a question and you don't know the answer, I don't know is a perfect answer. What I'd like to add to that is I don't know, but I'll try to find someone who does, and we'll get back to you. Make sure you get contact information for whomever is asking the question, and one of us will get back to them. And that's really important to remember that we don't all have all the answers. And I promise you, as long as I have been involved in the democracy reform movement, I've been involved in this since 2016, 2017. I still get questions every once in a while, and I go, what? Where did that come from? So I get stumped sometimes as well. So we are in this together, and like I said, you all have my phone number, so I do answer when the phone rings. I really make it a point to answer. And so I thank you again, fellow League members. Proud to be a part of this organization, and so proud that so many people want to help with educating the public. It's very important. And again, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, Kenyatta. And with that, Barbara, I believe, are you going to give us a chef's kiss goodbye?
Thanks everybody for attending. Check our website and our newsletter. We will have information coming about opportunities, how you can be involved. As everybody has said, it takes a village. I will just add that Rebecca Mears, one of our members who works with young voters, has done presentations in our high schools. And she said, these young people get ranked choice. They have, the kinds of difficulty that that, the people faced at the MLK tent. Young people, it's like, oh, we know how to do this. It's easy.
All
But
right.
the challenge is going to be reaching everybody, blanketing the district, and reaching everybody with accurate information. So we're all in this, and it's great to have everybody on the team. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.